Alright, so this is the latest update since the last clip I made, which was about, what I said about true soulmates. And what I was talking about was the loss of my dog. So I've never really known, I guess you could say fortunate up until now, but I've never really experienced loss before. I've been around those that have. So I was always a bit of a loner growing up. I left home in school when I was 11 and I was a street kid and didn't really have anything to do with my old lady. Last time I saw her was in my 30s. Never saw her again, and had a kind of a troublesome, abusive upbringing, if you like. My mum was, had 4 marriages, none of which was to my dad. Had 5 kids to 5 different men, none of which I know. And I never knew my old man. So, I was brought up in an abusive upbringing and left home in school when I was young. So I was 16, I settled down with my first wife. And, cut long story short, I've had 6 children, and they've all grown up into beautiful souls. I've got 5 grandchildren, and we're relatively close. Don't see them all. We've all got different ideas since the COVID era began, which of course made a lot of divide and separation between people. I'm married, got a beautiful wife, and we had our Daisy, which was our dog, and we lost her tragically, and she was only 4 years old. So that was our first true experience of fucking loss, man. Grief. We all suffered grief at the start of this COVID bullshit. For those of us that are awake, when you realise that the majority of what you've learned, or near enough everything you've ever known, is a fucking lie, then you go through the grieving period. There's that denial, fucking anger, depression, and then bargaining, and then acceptance. Well, when you actually lose something you fucking adore, seriously, I never realised how much you could love something. Anyone that owns a French Bulldog will tell you they've got amazing personalities, but my one in particular was just such a soul spark. And I never realised anything could fucking hurt so much. I've had a lot of physical pain in my life, fucking lot. And I'll take it all at once if it was to replace the feelings that we felt in the last month. So it's 32 days now since the passing of my dog. And what made it so bad was the suddenness. It was sudden. So I had another dog, Milo, which I said before, 17 he was when he died, and all the family was around him, and he had to be put down. He had 2 injections to go because he was stubborn and holding on. We all cried our tears, and then he was gone. And we cried our tears and got on with our lives. But this was sudden. Teaching a seminar, and all of a sudden my wife comes into the gym right at the end of the seminar with her in her arms, and she'd passed, and I'd spent 20 minutes trying to resuscitate her. We even tried to get a defibrillator going, and nothing, and she was gone. And it was just the suddenness of that, so shocking. Anyway, I've had a period of ups and downs since then, and what I wanted to do is just talk about what this has possibly taught me. What lessons there are to take from this. So, like the other time, I've seriously been journaling a lot. I've been putting down my thoughts every day, and this happened on the 3rd of September. And this is an entry that I made a week later, right? So, and then I'll kind of bring it up to scratch, tell you what the conclusions are, if you like, that I kind of come to. Right? So 10th of the 9th, 23. This was potentially the worst week of me and my wife's lives so far. It has been from Sunday afternoon on the 3rd of September to today, in the evening of 1 week later. So obviously this was on the 10th. And onward and upward it will go until it's possible, if possible, to live again, right? So from a Stoic perspective, what have I personally learned? So, since this period, I've been looking deep into the philosophy of Stoicism. I've been looking into many, many things. And what I can tell you is, most things have something to give you. Don't follow them to the T, because everything's been fucked with and everything's been inverted. But if you can really assess with your heart, you can find the gold and the value in things, right? So Stoicism is one. So from a Stoic perspective, what have I personally learned? Pain. This loss of my very best friend on this planet has taught me the fucking true meaning of pain. Through the loss of something that you love beyond comprehension. So it's taught me about pain and loss, for sure. Now within Stoicism they have this dichotomy of control, and also this understanding that there should be an acceptance that all things in life are impermanent. So that's pretty, it's a jagged pill to swallow, but it can be swallowed with material things. So when people lose material things that they've grown attached to, they lose their fucking shit. Right, so I've learned not to lose my shit if I lose things, because you lose things all the time. Money comes, money goes, cars come, cars go, stuff comes, stuff goes. You come in with fuck all, you go out with fuck all. But it applies to people and the things you love as well. They're impermanent, they're on loan to you. They're here for a period of time and then they could be gone. So the Stoics apparently thought that way about everything in life. So Marcus Aurelius had lost children, had lost loved ones, lovers, and thought about this in the same way. And apparently, although you feel the pain and the loss, it allows you to suffer less, apparently. Right? So there's this understand that things are impermanent. And then there's the dichotomy of control. And the dichotomy of control is understanding the things that are in your control, that you can do something about, and understand the things that you can't do anything about. So like cruel acts of fate, call it what you want. Incidents that happen where you lose things, or you lose others, beyond your control. What others think of you, beyond your control. To a degree you can stay healthy and do your best to stay healthy, but you get injured or ill, it's beyond your control. So focus on the things that you can control, and let go of the things that you can't. So the dichotomy of control and the acceptance of all to be impermanent in life was of little fucking comfort to this novice Stoic scholar, I can tell you. Of little fucking comfort. So that's something I learned. It has taught me how the cycle of grief works, along with all its destructive negative emotions. It has taught me over this most painful 7 days, bearing in mind this was the first week, it's now a month, right? And I'm becoming more numb to it, that's all I can say. Right? I can't tell you how much this affected me, it really can. I'm a fucking geezer, you ask anyone, right? I've had a fucking tough upbringing, I've had lots of fights in my life, I'm a close quarter combat instructor on an international level, well known. I cried like a baby for the loss of my dog. Seriously, serious pain, serious fucking pain. And I'm not ashamed of that, because she was worthy of every tear. But nonetheless, how the cycle of grief works, along with all its destructive emotions, how each phase of the grief cycle feels. So, there's the denial, well, that was quite brief. Then there was anger. Oh, I lost my shit. I lost my shit that day. And then there was just foreboding. this depression, which went on and on and on and on and on and on and on. You know, it was miserable. And then it got for less periods of time, although it was every day. So like instead of 5 times a day, it might have been 3 times a day. Instead of constant, it might have been, you know, semi-constant. And then it got to a period where it was just once a day, and then, you know, it fades to a degree. You know, there's been several days where I haven't shed a tear, right? But it was hard, fucking hard. And what I found is each phase in the cycle had me bouncing back between sorrow and anger, between despair and fucking rage, crying more uncontrollable tears than I've ever cried in my life so far. It showed me how during such circumstances how you can lose all care for everything. Nothing seems to matter. Grief makes you selfish. Fuck all mad. Seriously. Nothing. In fact, you know, if I'm honest, it made me yearn for the end. It was that fucking hard. You know, I'm in charge of my faculties. You know, I ain't had too many fucking blue ones or red ones. You know, we're in an insane world. I'd say I'm fucking holding on to my sanity. So it was literally grief. Grief made you feel that way. It has shown me the need to quickly learn how to endure emotional pain beyond anything that I would have thought was possible. There was a subtle message all the way through it, no matter how despairing it felt, that just said, endure, keep moving, endure. It taught me also further about the programming of people. Some get it, others just give you that natural programmed response that makes it seem to me that they think of it a lot less intensely than I do, then quickly default to their own experience of, you know, losing a dog or a pet or whatever else and make it all about them. All programming. You know, some people got it. I've had people tell me about their loss of such things before this happened to me, and I didn't get it until feeling it. You know, now I get it. I can feel that this whole experience is slowly tempering me somehow. So it takes me back to that metaphor. So years ago I remember Jeff Thompson talking about the metaphor of the sword getting mercilessly burnt in the fire. I've talked about this before, but I'll mention it again because it's a good story. It's a good metaphor. So hypothetically speaking, the sword in the fire is getting mercilessly burnt, wondering why it has to endure such pain. Then it comes through the other side of the forge is tempered steel, and it knows why. So my question is, if this is to some way temper my heart and soul for maybe future events that are to come, for whatever else, for whatever reason, maybe that experience that was necessary for me to temper my soul and my heart, where does that go? Does that take you to a place where you're just incapable of caring for anything again because it's just too painful if you lose it? Does it just make you numb? Does it just make you hollow? Because it's a bit of a fucking cop-out if that's the case, and I don't believe that's the case. But nonetheless, I could feel it tempering me, making me stronger. It has also confirmed 2 things. 1, focus on the control of how you respond to such an event lay currently, now bearing in mind this was 1 week later, somewhere between extremely challenging and fucking impossible. So when they say, oh, focus on what you can control. So apparently my emotional response is something that I can control. And I can control it in situations if I'm about to face violence. I've got state management you wouldn't believe. But in this particular situation, controlling my emotions was somewhere between extremely fucking difficult and impossible. The first week, seriously, first few weeks, if I'm honest. Second, such trials make you change your thinking, your habits, and previous ways by literally forcing you to do things you've been dragging your feet about. Forced to do whatever points towards achievement and creation. So what I mean by that is, like some projects that I left on hold, was being lazy about, and it threw me into them, hook, line and sinker. I was working every day, we both were, every day on projects that needed to be done, solid hard physical work, until we dropped, and then just fucking so tired, just slumped into bed. So it showed me you know, how such trials can change your thinking and get your act together, stop you dragging your feet, just to literally to stop you putting your attention and mind on what's making you miserable and put it somewhere else. Your soul self literally makes you find the energy to do whatever needs doing, to make you pick up your pieces and go forward and build again. When you approach the stage of bargaining, it makes you take stock and again be thankful for what you have left in your life. Now, I've talked before about attitude of gratitude and self-love. There ain't a day gone past where have not woke up and been grateful and listed everything that I was grateful for. You know, grateful for my life, I'm grateful for my wife, for my family, for my dog, I always used to mention her, for my friends, for my students, for the gifts that's bestowed upon me that has allowed me to touch the lives of many, of others. I've always, you know, particularly in the last 4 years, had that attitude of gratitude. It's never wavered, apart from, you know, when she passed and I just didn't give a fuck about anything for a few weeks. Then when you get to that stage of bargaining, so stages of grief, like I said before, get to a stage of bargaining before you approach acceptance, that's when again you start to take stock of the things you have got in your life and really, really appreciate them. And that's definitely where I am. It also makes you seek to make something good out of your forged experience. Maybe that's in my case to reach out to my family and take up now useful life-saving skills with motivation. So I'll explain that. So this whole convict shit and my awakening to it, and the fact that near enough all of my family are not, created a divide, as it's created a divide by many people. But when I found out about the loss of my dog, you know, they fucking really understood that, because my oldest son has suffered a similar loss. He lost one of his dogs, just run out in front of a bus. So it's the same suddenness. And my oldest daughter, she, you know, suffered the loss of her cat she was devoted to. Again, just that suddenness, not old age, but just sudden. So they knew the grief that I felt, and I remember the times when they went through those two things, and, you know, I was there for them, of course, and I was sad for them, and I was hurt that they were hurt, but I never had any fucking idea just how much they must have been hurt, you know. And I'm just so sorry that my kids went through that. You know, I'm sorry for any sentient being going through that. I wish that on anyone. And yeah, they kind of reached out, which has made it so that now we're going to possibly reconnect. I'm going to see my grandchildren, and so something amazing can come from that. So there's a good thing. The other thing was, kind of, you know, I'm a spiritual person. You know, I'm a spiritual soul. Even though I buried that dog that night in the ground, I know the soul spark that was giving her life is with us, is around us, is part of all that is. And it talks to you in ways, it gives you messages, you know. And one of the messages that I kind of felt was to better myself, to learn new things, to expand my knowledge. So I started a couple of new hobbies, new learning skills. I was never the strongest swimmer, so I've immersed myself into that, and that's changing quite rapidly. And various other useful skills, manly skills, if you like, dude stuff I've immersed myself into. So again, to apply my attention and focus somewhere, but also for growth. During this time as well, it made me look forward to sleep, usually just through fucking exhaustion, just to get some respite from pain. So again, bearing in mind this was the first week, this has been a week of pure misery, and I don't know what will happen over the next days. I just know I want the pain to stop enough to maybe start to live again. Finally, it has made us both realise that we must make where we are now, we moved recently, beautiful. We must make it our home. We must give it our touch. We must apply our attention and our time to it, so that it is part of us. If you look at your personal environment, it's an extension of you. You've got your energy. If there's something to that feng shui shit, I'm telling you. I'm embarrassed to say that when we moved here, we, all three of us, because we've embraced van life, but we also got a plot where we are kind of primarily based, if you like. I couldn't settle. I couldn't fucking settle. It was a lot to be done, and I couldn't settle. And then we lost her, and I've literally been forced to settle, which is much harder because I'm settling without her. But nonetheless, it made us immerse in it, and we've made the environment around us beautiful, and we've made it ours, and it's given it our energy. So, that's something that we had to do. Finally, it's made us both realise that we must make where we live now, in the beautiful West Country, our home, by putting our attention and intention into it in order to create everything around us as something of importance. When we came here, as I said, there's three of us. I'm embarrassed to say that I struggled with the feeling to get settled, because nobody likes change. Change is uncomfortable. Growth is in the discomfort. So imagine how that feels now without our Daisy. Yet for continued life and sanity, it's the only way forward for us. Like I said, the toil to make that so has been forced upon us. The choice is either simple, curl up and give up, or take stock, count what you have left with gratitude, and move on, forward, nose over toes. Everything we need to get through the trials in our life is within. We have resilience to endure. So nothing outward helps you get through periods of struggle or grief, whether it's loss of a pet, loss of a child, loss of a loved one, busted up marriage, broken business, financial ruin, whatever the fuck it is. Nothing external will get you through it, really. Nothing. Drinking, smoking weed, and recreational drugs, or going out partying, or anything that offers instant gratification is not worth fuck all. The only way through grief is inward, and it's a process, and you've got to fucking endure it. And when you do endure it, it's like the analogy of the waterfall. You've got a cascading waterfall. The other side of the bridge is calm, where it's subsided, but now the water's deeper. Like this, he's forged through the endurance of pain in whatever avenue that's bestowed upon you, or imposed upon you. It does give you strength, does give you fortitude. I think the key to it is just make sure you don't lose your heart, don't lose your soul. So yeah, Stoicism is a useful philosophy, but yeah, it was of little solace through this period of time. You just literally got to go through these things and endure. Now I'm grateful again, for sure I am. I never lost my gratitude, but I count everything in my life as with gratitude. But I miss my dog. I miss the little soul spark she is, and I know she's around me. And you know, when we leave this fake simulation, my goal is to make sure I don't fucking come back again. I'm not being recycled here like another battery. And I want to go back to the original things where my little dog is. Back to source. Yeah, we've all got personal beliefs on why we're here, how we're here. Mine aren't religious. I do believe that there is something hugely more powerful than any of us that created us. And I believe that that was fucked with in some way, you know, by an unseen force, energy, which if you look through histories of ancestry, histories of different culture, you'll call it the same thing. Whether it's the Archon, the Anunnaki, the Jinn, an unseen force that has, you know, created suffering within this realm, and lives off it. Well, I have no fucking intention of coming back here for any more of that. And I believe if you don't come back here for any more of that, then where you go is with the creator of all things, which is where, like a big data mainframe, which I believe is where that little soul spark is now. And one day will be waiting for me, or waiting for us. Anyway, just thought I'd give you an update. So the next clip that I'm going to talk about is stuff unrelated to this. We'll be moving forward. There's a few things I want to talk about. One thing I want to talk about is, next time, is a book review. I want to do a book review for John Lovell's Warrior Poet. Highly recommend it. So the concept or the philosophy of the warrior poet, warrior monk, grey Jedi, the lion and the lamb, we need both. It's very, very important. So yeah, next time I speak to you, we'll be relating to that. So just one last thing. Just as I'm doing this, there's this little robin that keeps coming to visit. It's a little soul expression. I don't know if you know much about spirit animals. Apparently I have many. The robin is one of them. But yeah. So maybe that's a little message, eh? Maybe not, and I'm just a lunatic. Or maybe it is. Anyway, peace.